Hi, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Yes, my face is fucked up, and yes, we are going to fix it. So, hi, feel free to subscribe if you're interested in any of these things right here, and if not, that's okay. I'll catch you guys later, or I'll catch you guys never, or I will catch you. I'm kidding. Or I won't. It's whatever. New subscribers, hello. I'm sorry. I always gotta drop a sorry. My bad. Oopsie daisies. Take that one, put it in your pocket. Zip it, lock it, put it in your pocket, okay? I need to get ready for the evening. And Jesus Christ, so I literally rolled out of bed, slapped makeup on, in a half lit room. And now that I'm looking at it, I left my house looking like this at one point today. Mistake? Perhaps. Do I really care? No. So part of me is like, wow. And the other part of me goes, fuck it. Honestly, should I fucking care? I don't. It's supposed to be fun. To me, makeup is supposed to be fun. So let's have fun. And if it looks like shit, it does, and whatever. Also, the temperature's rising here as well. It was at least hot enough early in the morning, around 9 o'clock, to have cicadas screaming, which means it was about 85 degrees very early in the morning. So fuck it. Like, if the fucking temperature wants to, then I can. Okay, you want to go that way? We could go this way. So, hi, hello, welcome to my channel. Sorry. So, as always, I need to fix my face because yikes, 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 yikes. And I kind of want to share with you my experience at the Houston Museum of Natural Sciences. Houston Museum of Natural Science. Okay, that's where I went to yesterday. So, I don't know, something has shifted in me, and I've been devouring the arts and devouring museums and going to places and things like that. I also have a kind of a thing I have to go to tonight that is somewhere, none of your business, and then I'll tell you tomorrow. It's a secret. I have another thing tonight. I went somewhere yesterday. I'm going somewhere tonight. Tomorrow's my day off, and then after tomorrow, I know, tomorrow's my day off. I don't work. I got this. What are you watching? What are you listening to? What are you reading? I want to know. What are you consuming? What kind of media are you guys consuming out in the interwebs? What are you guys doing? Hi. Hello. My husband is watching Wednesday, and so I'm sitting next to him doing other things, and he's watching Wednesday, and so I am looking at that through my peripherals while I'm doing other things around. What I am reading, here's the thing, and I know my makeup's ugly, and so I look like an idiot talking. Shh! Don't tell you. Between me and you, we can be friends, right? Come on. Is my makeup really ugly? I have this. Perhaps it is not. Perhaps it is. Bam! I don't know. So here's the thing. I might have at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning, I have to check my confirmation on my order. Purchased 8 books on ancient Egyptian magic, and how to read hieroglyphs. So here's the thing. My son, my youngest son, he's itty bitty. Let's just get into it. What I'm reading. Nothing yet. I'm going to be reading soon. Actually, I am reading something, but it's kind of a secret. It's for me. But usually I'll post on YouTube or on my Instagram things that I'm doing. And of course, as always, if you found me from TikTok, Instagram, any other place on the internet, and it was short form content, I do a lot of stupid, tiny shorts. For me, creatively, I like doing dumb shit. I like doing dumb shit. I enjoy being mischievous. I enjoy the fuck out of being an absolute idiot sometimes. So I have no issue with going on an hour-long rant about the cosmos, and then also in 15 seconds posting something absolutely bonkers, because there could also be mysterious by opening your mouth. You don't have to be silently mysterious, because like there's a meme and it was like, because people will ask you, why would she say that? Like, that is so funny to me, because it's like, yeah, why would I say that? Well, I don't know, and I don't care, and it's none of your business. So anyways, I maybe ordered 7 to 10 books on ancient Egypt last night. One of it. So we went to the Houston Museum of Natural Science. And the night before, I actually randomly bought tickets because I felt so drawn to it. I felt so, there's a feeling I get in my heart. It's like my heart gets very, very cold. I can't explain it. It's almost like I have my guiding light starts turning on, but the light is cold in and of itself. So, anyways, it was just a very strange thing. Um, so I purchased tickets, and I also purchased a membership, and I was like, well, here's our fun money for the time being. Let's go to a museum, even though it was some ways away, and I had to dip and dodge through Houston traffic, which was a nightmare because there was multiple times I almost died. But good thing I'm a great defensive driver because I'm very reactive on the road, very defensive with my driving. I was in a car wreck that was very, very bad because of some asshole. So hyper aware that you could die on the road. Many, many people die on Texas roads. So anyways, we go to the Houston Museum of Natural Science because I purchased tickets to go see the King Tut's tomb exhibit, right? And my husband was in agreement. So they're like, okay, this one's interesting for my one day off. Let's go. And I was like, this will be fun for the kids. It'll be fun for us. It'll be fun. It'll be interactive. I know it's interactive. I remember it from long ago. 15 years ago I went. And so now I'm going back while I feel it. It's hot and fresh and I want to do these things. Yeah. So I was like, I want to go. I want to go back. And so we did. It was kind of a whimsical kind of thing. We go there. And I purchased the tickets at like 1 p.m. because I wanted to give us plenty of time to figure out what the fuck. And yes, I'm fixing my makeup, so I have to correct the base. I should just clean it off, but we're just going to layer it and say fuck it today. I'm using the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless in the classic ivory shade. I usually just get whatever's the lightest color I can find at a drugstore, Target, H-E-B, Walmart, does not matter. And then I slap it on my face. See how the difference is between clown white and classic ivory? There's a major difference between dead and undead. I mean, not dead and undead. Dead and not dead. Oh, bitch. Anyways, so we get there at like 11 something, and we go all throughout the exhibits. And of course we get stuck in the gift shop because what do I see? I'm really into gems and minerals, and their structures, I guess they're like kind of atomic structures, and they're what they're made out of and everything. I'm a sucker for science. I really am. I have a great deal of adoration for it. But the way I view science is different than the way mainstream media, literally mainstream media, allows it to exist. So I view science in a very eclectic, eccentric kind of way. It is something that is ever growing, and it is just a theory. It's just it's something that shifts, and so I don't mind when things shift around. Actually, I think it's enjoyable. I do not enjoy stagnation within my theories. I like them to expand and grow as such the universe does. And so I don't mind whenever somebody brings to the table confrontational opposition kind of new ideas, because it only gives more value to something that is already slightly valuable, So I don't mind whenever somebody comes into opposition with new evidence for science and goes, hey, look at this thing. I don't think that we should immediately be like to everybody who brings to the table something valuable, such as opposition, because it only deepens the flavors of what we have, on Earth. So fuck it. Like, people are so, whenever people are asleep, they're very, very malleable into what they want you to be, right? And so wake the fuck up. I'm kidding. Anyway, so I love gems and minerals. Let's get to that. So I was stuck there looking at the pyrite squares and everything, and there was a large piece of sulfur, and I've really been into sulfurs and salt domes lately. For some reason, that's what I've been into. I've been doing tons of research on accident, so I guess let's expand on that's what I've been reading about. I've actually been doing independent research on salt domes and the excavation and the extraction of oil using water to interject into a salt dome, which is 2,000 feet below the Earth's surface, allegedly. And what they do is they inject water underneath the oil or into the salt dome, and the oil will rise to the top, and then oil companies can then pull that resource from the Earth's womb. Unfortunately, 5 times, all it takes is 5 extractions and the salt dome will collapse 2,000 feet straight to hell. But they reassure us, the greedy corporations reassure us that we will never need to do 5 times. So don't worry, it will not collapse within your timeline. But who is really watching these bastards? No, they're just self-regulating. And so, anyways, I've been doing independent research on that, and I find it extremely interesting, number one, because I live in Texas, and Texas is also known as the place where we get black gold from oil, things of that nature. Offshore, there's tons of oil rigs. There's tons of different issues around oil and energy consumption and clean, renewable, reusable energy. And of course, the people who sit there and pump out propaganda about what renewable and reusable energy are the massive entity companies, corporations that do not give a fuck about human life or 8 billion people on the planet. What they care about is their corporate greed. They are entities, they are non-human, they are something else. And what they do is they essentially rape the earth of her resources and leave her bone dry, bleached out in the sun, okay? So the issues I have with the mining and the meticulous greed, hoard, the very dragon-esque type of hoarding things, hoarding black gold, and owning rights to land, which you cannot really do. Like, on paper, our systems allow this to happen, but in truth, you cannot do. It's not, you think it's going to some foreign, let's say something off planet comes to the planet and says, well, now this is mine, whatever. You can argue and be like, well, our systems in place say that it's actually mine because I have a deed or whatever. No, it's not going to work like that. So anyways, I think it's very interesting. I find it very confusing and interesting and honestly mentally obliterating when you start going into understanding the education behind what these energy giants do, and then understanding that the propaganda they put out for you to consume, the information you consume, is gracefully, graciously, with much gratitude, donated to us by who? Who donated the information? Read the plaques. That's all I'm going to say about that. You want to find out who is controlling the propaganda? Go to your local museums and your planetariums and your colleges and your schools. Who donated the money for the auditorium? Who donated the money for the something for City Hall? Who is this dedicated to? We dedicate this building to Shabba Ding Dong, right? Follow the money. Read the plaques. They will have a narcissistic... that's so silly. They will have a display of adoration for their gracious donators. When you investigate who the gracious donators are, you will find the paper trails. If you're wise enough and if you're smart enough, you can go and see who is propagating the propaganda of what is and what is not. That's all I'm going to say about that, okay? And now, do I know anything? No. Do I know anything really? Truthfully, no. All I'm saying is if you want to go and, like, investigate what the fuck is going on, do it at your own will. You know what I'm saying? Like, do whatever you want to do. It's none of my fucking business what you do. It's none of your business what I do. And we're in this time and space little bubble right here where I'm just sharing with you. But if you are interested in following who is pumping out things, you know what I'm saying? And of course, what I love doing personally is I like reading between the lines of everything. I like understanding the narrative, enjoying and observing the beauty, and also diving deeper into why. I ask so many questions and I ask them violently fast. And it's extraordinarily annoying for many people because they're like, shut the fuck up, bitch. And I'm just like, I can't if I tried. I wish I could. But my thoughts are constantly consuming. So, you know what I mean? And they're like, well, we have a fancy pharmaceutical for that. No, thank you. So we were there and I was enjoying learning about sulfur. Okay, let's go back to sulfur because I've been really doing research into the sulfur mining that has happened along the coastline within the past 100-ish plus years, okay? 120 years, right? So I find it to be extraordinarily interesting. The progress and the evolution of man along the coastal shores of anything, Louisiana, Texas, Japan, we all have these different types of chemical plants and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see the energy and what humans have used as energy. You understand? It's an interest I have. It's one tiny itty bitty grain of salt interest that I have within the interest of all interests. Very interested in many things. I'm very curious. Okay? You know? So anyways. So I take my kids and my husband to the museum. I drive them through Houston and I almost die. We're there, we're moseying around. I'm taking tons of pictures of silly things. And then we meet a lot of nice workers who work there. Everybody's going very slow. Everybody's very like chill. And I've noticed that my high anxiety, which is kind of a funny movie with Mel Brooks, my high anxiety is like nullified slowly. And there's kids that were all over the place. I guess it was like a field trip day or whatever. And immediately we go into the very first thing, which was astrophysics. And the small, like, the way they made the museum was entirely clever, I think, is that they start off with elements and then they expand from there. They start off from the tiniest thing, like they start off, I'm sorry, my brain's everywhere. They start off with the alleged beginning of the universe, tiny elements that create your universe around you. And then they expand to your body, and then everything from the mind, consciousness, alchemy. There was a whole like little area dedicated to alchemy. There was a whole area dedicated to spiritual consciousness and the body, neurons. There was a brain you could walk into with interactive hands-free hand tracking, so you can click on things. There was like hand tracking, hands-free, or like VR kind of stuff, you know what I mean? You know how the VR is like hand tracking or whatever. So anyways, they had that. That was really cool. And so a lot of it was interactive. The children knew how kinetic and energy was, how magnets work, and then you could also create reusable energy and stuff there. And there was a dance floor with the periodic table of elements. And throughout the entire museum, in each exhibit, there was the periodic table of elements to remind you of the compounds that create the visible world around us, right? Correct. The world around us that we can sense. And they also had like a whole display on the periodic table of elements, but the physical actual representation. So for chlorine, they had a thing of bleach, and like blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? For copper, they had copper. You know what I'm saying? They show you in gold, and the things they could not show you, they had like just the model of what it atomically looked like or whatever. Anyway, it was fun. The kids really enjoyed it. And so we moved through there from the beginning foundings of the periodic table of elements and what creates you, to the human thing, to proton colliders. And they had like a proton collider collide protons thing, like what would it look like if you were doing it, bitch? So it was fun. It was super interactive, super fun, and that's how I learn, and that's how my children were learning, and that's how my husband learns too. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fucking fun. I think it's the CERN. They had two things come and collapse and smash, and while that was happening, they also had like a physical thing that showed you when they released and then smashed together these two metallic balls, and then above what it looked like and everything, like how do you say not a diagram? What's the physical version of a diagram? They had a display. Anyways, they had a display of the CERN, the proton collider, and then on a giant screen projected like hologram kind of thing. They also had speaking upon like what it would look like actually and how it works and everything. And so everybody was devouring information. It was very interactive, a lot of fun. So then we went on from that to the alchemy area, which I was always like, alchemy, and so I mean, humans have always been alchemists. Honestly, we're always doing alchemy shit. We're always making new medicine and smashing protons. Like, everything is alchemy. Everything is the integration and the polarization of everything, bitch. Everything. Anything and nothing. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? So I was just like, everything to me is alchemy. And that's just my personal view. Okay? Everything is some kind of huge dance between tempering things, So anyways, so we went to the alchemy area and I was like, like, oh my god, it's so much fun. And, it talked about like, when alchemy was a bad no thing and la la la. And, how the Christian church for many, many years, the Abrahamic faith has consistently and systematically broken down free thinking, right? And so alchemists had to like go hide in be a hermit and hide in the fucking caves somewhere and fucking have resources with clean water and whatnot to live in the forest and do science. That's fucking crazy, right? Anyways, that pisses me off. It pisses me off. So yeah, it just, that shit pisses me off whenever there was like a spiritual kind of there still is a spiritual attack on science. Science and spirituality should be integrated because they are two sides of the same fucking coin. Art as well. And so it's just, to me, it doesn't fucking matter. I don't know. To me personally, I have a lot of feelings and thoughts and they're always changing. So let's leave it there, right? So, sorry. So that being said, so we went on from the alchemy to I think, what was next? Was it dinosaurs was next? I think the dinosaur exhibit was next. Which was so funny because personally I have a lot of thoughts and views that are eclectic, stupid, different. I have a lot of things that, you know, are different, not suitable for everyone's consumption, whatever. I'm not here to make friends, motherfucker. I'm here to talk. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to share my views because it's important for everybody to do so. You know, if I wanted to make friends, then I would shut my mouth and not say anything and be a good little girl. But I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make enemies. Okay, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not here to make enemies. I don't give a fuck what you think. You shouldn't give a fuck what I think. You don't like what I'm saying? Shut this video off. I don't matter. I'm nobody. I'm nobody, you know? Especially not to you. So if you don't like me, like, that's fine. Should I care? I don't. Whatever. I used to when I was younger. I used to be like, oh my god, what if people don't like me? Who gives a fuck? Like, good. Bye. Find someone who does. How do you find people who do? Do you go up into people's faces and say things? No. Just start talking. Just start opening up yourself and people will find you. Okay? So anyways, we went into the dinosaur exhibit. And for me personally, I have a fear. It's so stupid. But like Jurassic Park fucked me up because I saw it when I was a very little child. So in my head, I'm always thinking about getting ripped apart by dinosaurs. Like I'm always thinking about that. That's something that lives rent free in my head, is that scene when the guy gets eaten off the toilet, and then also the scene in the second one. The scene in the second one where they pick a guy up and they share him, and that lived rent free in my head for a very long time. There would be so many times I would just be sitting in class like replaying it over and over again. I don't know why it fucked me up like bad. Like I would just sit there like not even listening to the teacher, just thinking about that scene where they share that guy. So anyways, so we go to the dinosaur exhibit and I make a joke because if I joke, then I alleviate tension within myself. So I was joking and I was like, because my husband knows, my friends know. I'm always telling them, God damn, dinosaurs, they scare the fuck out of me. Like they're so big. And when you're underneath these like alleged like models of the fossils, right? When you're underneath them, beans. For me, sorry, my cat was outside doing his meowing, his deep guttural meows. Anyways, for me personally, when I was underneath them, I looked up and I was like, bitch, how the fuck? Like, they're like, oh, an asteroid came and like obliterated the earth, and they can't really figure out like where exactly, but it was like somewhere, like it was a big one somewhere. So whatever, like there was an extinction level event, you know, whatever, blase blase. Whatever, right? So just being underneath a Tyrannosaurus Rex and looking up and being like, oh hell no, oh hell, should be underneath them and being like, bitch, what the fuck? No, get me the fuck out of here. Cut the cameras, like dead ass, like no. I was just sitting there like scared, and then they go, there's a whole like Homo sapien thing when you travel through the museum, this quiet, you know. And I was recording a little bit. I think at the end of this video I put in whatever I recorded, but the whole thing, they told me like no flash photography, and so I equated that to don't pull your phone out, bitch. And so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna pull your phone out, you know. But I didn't realize that no, they're just saying don't turn on your flash, which was silly because I brought a Polaroid camera, so I was like, oh, I can't use it, so whatever. Whatever. So I was like, I asked my husband, I was like, hey, can you carry my Polaroid for me? Anyway, so you go through the exhibit and it shows you prehistory, right? Or whatever. Or the version that they are telling you, the picture they're painting with the exhibit, because it's all art. Literally, it's all art. It's not technically something solidified. It's just individual perception of an archaeological find, and then humans failing many attempts to piece together an appropriate story and just being shitty at it. And then new evidence comes to light and they're just too scared to admit a goddamn motherfucking thing. So they're just like, so like billions of years ago there was like fucking dinosaurs, bitch, and then they died, bitch, and then like fucking shut up and listen, bitch. And so there's like a whole like narrative of history that even museums give you, and then they kind of, it's kind of an art science mix, but they give you the information, and sometimes whenever you deviate away from it, like, well, what if this happened, people get aggressive with you because they don't like asking questions. Unfortunately, how I do. So that's why I don't have friends. That's why I don't have any friends. Anyways, I don't give a fuck. It's fine. So sorry, I'm acting like an ass right now. It's because sometimes I am an ass. I'm an idiot. I tell you guys these things. It's fine. It's fine. We're friends, right? We're friends. I'm foolish. It's cool. So it's interesting to go through and look at things and go, that is making me question things in general, which is something I like doing. So I don't really mind. But yeah. So anyways, when we get to the Homo sapien, the alleged like beginnings of humans, right, with the monkeys and stuff, I'm only thinking of Stanley Kubrick. I'm only thinking of him, and I'm thinking of 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's what I'm looking at. I'm like, and then I'm looking at the fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex, and I'm looking at the early mammals, the big motherfuckers, and they have a display of like people attempting to fight early mammoths. And I'm like looking at it, and I'm looking at the like monkey display, and I'm looking at us, and I'm looking at the people looking around, and then look at me in the mirror of my phone, and I'm like, that's fucking weird. You know, like, that's weird. But whatever. So anyways, I'm just like, whatever, what the fuck ever. I don't care. I'm just gonna look at what the information they're providing for us and like just kind of roll with it, because whatever. And if my kids have questions, I'm gonna be like, well, let's do more research. Let's ask questions at home. Let's buy more books. Let's go to thrift stores, buy books, half price books, thrift books, whatever. Let's go buy some books and find some information, and let's expand our awareness on whatever question you have. Let's do it. Let's dedicate a week to expanding our awareness on the questions you have, and at the end of the week we'll come out knowing a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, maybe have more questions, and then you want to keep asking, we can keep asking. That's how I feel life. That's how I view education. That's how I view things. Take a week at a time. You have a burning question, take a week. Take care of the child. Take care of that burning question. Be honest with yourself. Honor yourself. If you have questions, what does that look like? You don't have to shut down every conversation. Even with people who are like in opposition to the social norm, I think that even if they are wrong, it's important for them to be at the table too. Because even if people are wrong, it gives you more things to bounce off of. It brings more creative aspects to the table. So who gives a fuck if they're wrong? As long as we're all allowed to sit at the table with respect and understanding that it's okay to have individual perspectives, and you're not going to be completely 100% right all the time. They, the people who are wrong, may have some fucking value within the words they speak. They may speak some truth. So why not sit the fuck down, ask questions, and listen, and allow there to be a back and forth? You don't have to always aggressively sit in opposition to somebody. What if you can both hold that rope together in unison? And or you could both hold each side. You could be like the water bearer, Aquarius. You can both hold a different side of the stick that's holding pails of water, and so you could share the water bearing. Are you from different backgrounds? Do you have different bias, socially, religiously, politically? Sure, but you're both working towards doing what? Bringing fresh water to the community. So who gives a fuck? As long as you can submit yourself to serving something higher, that's all that fucking matters. Right? Maybe. I don't know. I don't fucking know shit. Anyway, so we're going through the dinosaur exhibit. We get to the like the prehistory, and then the Homo sapiens and the hominid and nominum, how many, and hubba. And so we get to that, and I'm just sitting there looking at the mammoths like, that is one big ass motherfucker. Like, sitting there, I don't say that out loud, but internally I'm just questioning, and I'm allowing my brain to stuff and go, okay, interesting, and understanding what things are and what things are not and whatnot. And I'm wandering around, my kids are wandering around, my husband's wandering around. Individually, we're all quiet, silent, respectful, and having thoughts and questions and feelings. And at the end of each exhibit, we would kind of collectively come back together. But, well, what do you think? How do you feel? Well, what do you think about these things? I saw that too. I found that to be interesting. Oh, that's what you think? Well, here's what I thought. And then so we collectively have a back and forth. Is it a knockdown, drag out, shootout? Is there a firefight? No, bitch. You could still fucking communicate without being a total skank. You can communicate without being a total skink about it. Like, come on. And even if you want to be a skink about the way you communicate, that's fine. You still have a place at the table too, but don't try to sit in other people's seats. You feel me? Do you understand what I'm saying? We all have a spot at the table. Okay, we all have a spot at the table, and it's not okay for someone to sit in someone else's seat. Unless you ask for their permission first. And then it's just like a learning experience. Well, what does a seat feel like, right? Metaphorically. Nucleus. So at the end of the basically wandering around the dinosaur exhibit or whatever, the fossils and whatnot, it was fossils. It wasn't just dinosaurs. It was all kinds of fossils. And they had some hanging from the ceilings and la la la. And, my son was it's so funny. He wasn't afraid of the T-Rex. He was afraid of the Brontosaurus or Brachiosaurus, the long neck. He was afraid of that dinosaur. He went next to it, and he was not frightened of the things with teeth and the things that were, like, they make them in a powerful position where they look like they're devouring other creatures. They give them power by making them look like predators, right? I'm sure they were not just predators, So anyways, it doesn't matter. He was more frightened of the Brachiosaurus, the Brontosaurus, the long neck. And he was like, that's what scared me the most. And I was like, that is interesting. That is an interesting thing, And I said, wow, how peculiar. Very, very interesting. Very interesting that you found that to be the most threatening thing, the long neck, in the exhibit, So it's just interesting to share ideas and to, get a better understanding of who people are and possibly even who you are. You know what I'm saying? By that time, by all that wondering, we got there at like 11 something, and then we got to the end of the exhibit. It was 12:45, so we were very concerned. We didn't understand how the museum worked. It was the first time to be there in like over 15 years, so we were concerned about, are we gonna miss our time slot at 1? And so the lady was like, be there at 1, make sure you're there at 1. So, but it was actually more lenient than they had told us, or we had assumed, and also they had explained. So I thought that was curious as well. So we go to the King Tut's exhibit, and we noticed that, well, first of all, we purchased a membership, which is good for a year, so we can visit all of the exhibits within the Houston Museum of Natural Science. Like, they have a gem and mineral section, I'll get to that later, and other things like a whole Egypt permanent exhibit there. So we could go snooping around, which I love. Snooping around, I love wandering around and getting into bullshit, right? So I'm very mischievous, I'm very curious, I like looking and thinking and feeling. I love that. I love being a human, I really do. To an extent, when it's those things, when it's the other bad stuff, I don't like too much. And I don't think that, even though those bad things exist, I think that it could be cleared up relatively quickly if we just understand that when someone's in opposition to you, like I said before, it doesn't have to be a firefight. It could actually be two people holding a rod in order to bring water to a community. It does not always have to be such a fucking life or death situation. It doesn't have to be a wheel of an endless cycle with no return to torment. So anyways, we go to the King Tut tomb thing, right? And so, like, we didn't really think it was like magnificent, but it was our entry into the whole museum. So me purchasing these tickets actually gave us the ability to go snooping and actually fall into other things. So the interest was the gateway to the rest of the treasure, which was the rest of the museum, and inevitably helping me understand other things better, which is always fun. For me, like, what's more valuable, actual gold or knowledge and wisdom? Knowledge and wisdom, 150 billion shmillion %. Shmillion, but shut up. Anyway, Anyways, so yeah. So anyways, we go to the King Tut tomb thing. Um, and my son was with the youngest was with his father, and my eldest had his own phone. And we took pictures and things like that. And my eldest was more interested in watching the media that was playing. They had projections of media and stories and the excavation and the storyline of the perceived storyline of what happened. It was in 19 something, like it was in the early 1900s. So c'est la vie, mon ami. I do not know. So I was not there, but I can guarantee you the people who wrote about it and like the people who put together the exhibit were not there as well. So we have to piece together the past with very, very minimal puzzle pieces and let the brain fill in the rest. But you cannot sit there with 4 pieces of a 500-piece puzzle and go, here is a solid fucking truth, because it's not. We're all supposed to then fill it in and go collectively, there's the picture from long past, right? So anyways, my eldest, he has his own phone, so he was doing his own thing, and he's almost 14 now, so there was not many people in the museum, so I felt an alleviation of my helicopter parenting within me to protect my children, right? So my youngest was with my husband, and I was allowed to mosey about. So I was. And it was like I had seen friends from a very long time ago, because I love Egypt and I love the gods and the mythology and everything about it. I think it's fascinating personally. Marvelous, magnificent. I like a lot of ancient cultures. I like learning about ancient cultures. And the more you learn about ancient cultures, you realize how old they are. They truly are ancient. Before they were even there, they were there. And now, do I know anything? No. Okay. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Anyways. So we go to the Tut's tomb, right? And we walk through there. And it's fun and it's nice, and it feels like I said, like I'm seeing friends from long past. I'm seeing Anubis, and I see Isis, and I see different images and things that are familiar to me, things that I've done hundreds of hours of research on independently because it was interesting to me. And so, because I found it interesting, I independently did my research. I never went to college for anything. I've never been to college. And in fact, I probably will never go to college unless it's to take an independent class at an academy somewhere. You know what I mean? But I have an interest in being a mortician and things of that nature. So I think that the whole mummification process was always vastly interesting. And I love the stories of Isis and Osiris and Ra. And I work with Isis a lot, the goddess Isis, and so, or Isis, it depends on who you talk to, how they want to say it or whatever. So I have a fascination with Egypt, right? So to me, it was like familiarity, like going to a family event. It felt normal to me to be there. It felt good. I felt a certain way being surrounded by everything and being in those dark tomb-like things. It felt comforting. I like being in things that are like a tomb where the light doesn't always get in. And I like the strange, not overhead lighting, but the strange wall lightings, like sconces and candlelight and lamps. So being there with the darkness and also that enclosedness, it felt good. It felt nice. It felt cool. And there's many displays of allegedly what they found, and chariots and funeral couches and his hoard, right? It's like you walk into his hoard. Essentially, they're recreating what it looked like to discover it, right? And then we go to the sarcophagus, and then they had many, this is the best part, because I love ancient Egypt. I love ancient Egypt. So, sorry. Sorry. So then we go into his, showing the sarcophagus and the many, what he was entombed in, right? And what his body was in. And they have a display showing you, like the things he was wearing all the way up from the biggest, it's like Russian dolls, you know what I mean? The biggest to the smallest. And on each one is a story. And then also just the way they valued life after death and the stories and the hero's journey that happened after you died was way, way more important than whatever the fuck was going on for your life, because all your life was really preparing for your death. And if you wanted to be immortal, you had to take a journey to become immortal. And that only happened after the body was preserved and you descended into the underworld. You know what I mean? So, whatever. Go research it. You're interested in what I'm saying? Go research it on your own, okay? Then it was the from his, Russian doll kind of nesting his sarcophagus, right? Then there is I think I'm saying that correctly, his sarcophagi. Anyways, well, he was in his casket, his coffin. There's like the layers, and that was interesting and beautiful because I love seeing the artwork on it. But I was more interested in what they found, what he was buried with, right? So he had rings and like mini jewelry, a lot of jewelry. And there was another display speaking upon the things that the Egyptians valued, such as lapis lazuli, carnelian, hematite, meteorites, meteoric metals, right? Metals from a faraway place, and quartz, sandstone, gold, copper, malachite, azurite, things like that. Lapis lazuli, things of that nature, things that I found to be extraordinarily interesting. I have a very deep love for gemstones and minerals, okay? I do. I love them so much. I've always collected them since I was a child. I've always enjoyed rock climbing. I've always enjoyed the earth, okay? And the radiation that happens within her womb. I think it's so cool that the earth has a type of radiation that happens under the surface, the tension that creates these atomical structures to grow on a matrix. Like, how cool is that? And then, anyways, I could go into hours and hours discussing how amazing and multifaceted gemstones and minerals are, literally. But this is not the place or time. I'm trying to get through this fucking exhibit. So anyways, there was like, here's a picture. There was this, and I love Thoth, or the Egyptian ibis-headed god, the moon god. I love him. I love him so much. And I've had my personal thing where, I've had dreams. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I've had dreams where I was in ancient Egypt and I was like a priestess to, I think her name is Seshat or whatever. And so I was like writing, I was a scribe. I was writing something like information. I was just writing, whatever. And I had this long leopard skin kind of dress on. And I was climbing staircases within, I don't know, some place. And there was, lights on the walls, there was lit torches, and I was there with my thing. I was scribing something anyway. So because of my personal interest, my dreams ignited a personal interest in Egypt, because I was like, wow, I had a dream about something like this. Oh my god, that's a real thing, because I did not know about Thoth or Seshat. I'm probably butchering her name. My brain will make up fake names for things I do not know how to pronounce. Don't fucking shoot the messenger, bitch. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot my ass, please. But yeah, so I've had dreams where I was like a priestess to Seshat or whatever. And so Thoth is very interesting to me because I always run into people who remind me of Thoth. And I always see ibis everywhere down here in the swamplands and the marsh. They are here and relevant, and they were in Egypt. And so it's just very delicious, the little the tidbits of information and whatnot. And I think they're peculiar, beautiful creatures. But I also love the moon, and I also have a very big issue with the moon as well, which I'm not going to get into right now. But so the moon god, right? And so he also is like viewed as a baboon and things of that nature. But every time I saw him in the Egyptian anything, I was like, hey, it's him, and I took pictures, and I was like, it's baby. I think of Thoth as like a very beautiful Hermes Trismegistus, Hermes Mercury, Thoth. I love them. I love the archetype of Mercury, the trickster, as well as the one who writes all and knows all and is very wise and beautiful and stunning to me. Right? Information is God to me. Like, wisdom and knowledge is just top tier. Mwah, right? So how do you get that communication? Anyways, so let's move on. He had this bracelet that was made out of a meteor. Tut did. Tut, do you know him? Tut? Like, I know him. Tut. Tut, King Tut. So he had this bracelet with him that had, I don't know if it was two of them or just one of them, and it was like the front and back view of like the Eye of Ra they carved it into a meteorite, and then it was on a gold or copper band, and he wore the bracelet that was made out of a meteorite. But I found that to be so magnificent that they like held some kind of importance, that meteorites in ancient Egypt that they allegedly found in the Saharan desert held some kind of importance to where they elevated it to the Eye of Ra and then wore it as jewelry. Now, personally, I love jewelry. I love incense. I have perfumes all over my house of different various foreign smells, and I love herbs, and I love gods and goddesses and mythology and makeup. And so to see a culture mirror my love as much as they did with their importance of like makeup and things of that nature, and makeup and honestly music and literature, writing, information, and gods and goddesses and death and everything. Ancient Egypt to me is one mirror that I love looking into and going, fuck yeah, dude, they got it. They got we're on the same kind of shit. Like, yes, astrology, astronomy, music, everything. It was so full. The culture was so full, and it was good and it was bad, and it was front and back and left side, right? It was all encompassing. It was good, bad, horrible, fantastic, horrific, magnificent, shitty, fucked off, bullshit. There was, tension and lies and betrayal and everything. When you look into the stories of the gods, there was the taking of innocence as well as the condemnation, and then the stealing of inheritance, and then the destruction and the creation and the fighting off the wolves and everything. It's a beautiful story, and it's full of beautiful stories. This story that is ever evolving, because it is. The more we find out, the more it evolves. The more we understand, the less we understand as well. You know what I'm saying? It expands in two ways, in many ways, but just the more we understand, the less we understand. Truthfully, the more we find, the less we understand. Well, it doesn't relate back to what we said it did. You weren't there. You don't know. So just adore what you found, and sure, place it into a museum and say, look at this thing. We've dated it to a certain time period. How fun is that? Do we really know what it is? Kind of, sort of, but allow people to make their own things. Allow it to be a holy reflection for somebody else's internal shalala-ding-dong, right? So I thought it was beautiful because this king had been buried with carnelian and lapis and things that I have all around my house. And I was like, wow, they viewed that as important. And as a child, I was always told, I was ostracized and told, stop worshiping that rock. That's the devil. That's evil. You're bad. You're wrong. You're evil. Go to church. Sing, praise, and worship. We're going to dunk you in a fucking vat of lukewarm water, mimic, mock, kill you, drown you, baptize you, and when you come up, your soul will be gone, but we'll fill you with the Holy Spirit. Got it? Get it? Got it? Good. Now go be a good little bitch, sit in the pew, shut the fuck up, and listen to the high man. And then there I was, still in people's driveways. I knew about rocks as a very little girl. I had encyclopedias on bugs. I had encyclopedias when I was like 4 years old, and I was alone, and I knew how to read at a very young age. I did. And so I was teaching my cousins how to read before I went to school. They would come home with homework, and I would do their homework, and they would go to school. I wasn't even fucking in school yet. Okay? Okay. I've always been kind of a fucked off kid, right? I've always been a bit of an oddball. So it just is. And so why not honor that within myself? Fuck yeah, I ask questions. Fuck yeah, I know things. Sure. But that also had the humbleness in myself to know I don't fucking know shit as well. I understand this story being told. I understand that part of the story. Do I know if it's true or false? Not really. I wasn't fucking there. And I'll admit that openly. I wasn't in ancient Egypt. I'm not behind the board of directors for archaeology. But if you are as curious as I am, you'll sniff around and find things, Do I know the intentions of everybody who donates to the museum? Absolutely not. But it does help understand the narrative being spun, which I'll get into in a minute. So I just want to clarify that. I don't really know the people who donate to the museum intimately. I wasn't there. I am not with them. I am not a part of that society of people. I am a humble nobody. I'm a fucking idiot. I wear white clown makeup, bitch. What do you think this is? Okay? I'm nobody. So anyways. My nose is really itchy today. Sorry. So it was fascinating, and then we went to like the Egyptian, there was a permanent Egypt thing, and so after King Tut's thing, we went to the permanent Egypt thing, right? There was a permanent display exhibit, and that was way more fun than the King Tut's thing, okay? Honestly, it was way more fun because I got to see the perfume vials and the eyeliner and incense vials and the goddess statues on Thoth again, and I got to identify the different gods and goddesses, and I was like, look, there's Bast, there's Isis, there's Hathor, there's, I was like, oh god, that's Osiris, and I was able to look and see and put together contextually, like the context of things. I was familiar with it, and so I could understand it, and so I was excited. So we were all wandering through the halls of the Egyptian exhibit, and I love it. I loved it. I will always love it. It was so much fun. It was so fascinating. And my son enjoyed it as well. They had a mummified ibis and a mummified cat. And I don't know if they were replicas or the actual thing. I don't know. It wasn't specified. It wasn't clear. But they did say donated, all the plaques were like donated generously by Rachel, blah, 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 right? So do I know really about ancient Egypt? No, I wasn't there. I'll be honest with you guys. Wasn't there. So all I know is what they tell us and what they assume about the past. Until we create the technology to, without interference, go back and look at it, we won't know. And even then, we can only pick up context clues about the past through observation. Because we don't really know what the fuck they're saying. Jesus Christ. I fucked up my lips. It's fine. Bitch, it's fine. Whatever. Damn it. So, anyways. Any fucking ways. Now, like I said before, do I know anything? No. So, but it was really cool seeing the mummies, and we saw the Rosetta Stone, which I thought is the most hilarious piece of motherfucking telephone game physically ever. We passed by the Rosetta Stone, and I had a physical strange sensation happen to me, which I don't know why, because I don't really view, like, personally, I don't think of the Rosetta Stone as something that's like magnificent or important. I mean, sure, it could be, it does help piece together a better worldview of the narrative of the past. Of course it does. No shit, Sherlock. Of course it does. But it's still, like I said, as much as we discover, there's so much elements of, we still don't fucking know. So it's important to stay humble with every discovery. That I think they should really put a tagline on everything to discover. Like, is this the whole truth? Absolutely not. This is the assumed truth. The assumed truth. So with that, it could be the reality of it could be a lie. To the relation of the actual truth of what was happening collectively at that time in the past. But then there's going to be individual truths which are in opposition to collectively what's happening in the past. Do you understand what I'm saying? Probably not. It's cool. It's cool, man. It's fine. It's whatever, bro. So anyways, yeah. Any fucking ways. So then my husband was like, hey, you know what? When we are, actually not then, at the beginning of it, there was also something called Death by Natural Causes that we went to, and we were fucking around in, and it was a lot of fun because I had purchased the membership for us to be members of the museum to go at any time. You get certain benefits, such as like half off of the traveling exhibits, the limited edition exhibits, let's call it that. Whenever you are a member of the museum. And so, yeah. And so he was like, well, I want to go see the death thing. I think that's cool. So I was like, okay, cool. You know, you want to? That's fine. We could do that. So we got half off of those tickets. I think it was only like $20 extra for 4 people to go. But he had a lot of fun. The kids had a lot of fun too. They had like all kinds of interesting. It was called Death by Natural Causes, and when you go in, they had like Mary Curie and a bunch of other people. Like there was a man, a Japanese man, I believe, or yeah, I think there's a Japanese man, and he died by poison. He ate a bunch of pufferfish livers, but these are all natural causes. Things naturally, you can die from things in nature, such as lightning, a dog, a cat's shit, literally. You know what I mean? Like there's the toxicity in house cat shit. So, anyways, sorry. um, so there was one plaque, and it was, I guess, whenever you enter it, there's honorable mentions of death, natural causes. So Mary Curie was on there, you know, and sounds like I'm saying Mercury. Mary Curie, Marie Curie, Madame Curie. So she was on there, and there was another man who was at the front on the right side, and he had went out with like a fucking gun and shot the shit out of a Sahara cactus. The very big ones that look like they're dancing when you don't look at them. They can live hundreds of years, and their root system individually can travel, I think, up to 200 feet, or I cannot remember the correct. This is how far the root system can go. There, let's put this there. Let's put the information there of the Sahara cactus. Fascinating, amazing creatures. I love them. They can live 175 years, and most of the ones that do have arms, I think it's like every 75 years they get a new arm or something like that. I don't know, something of that nature. Go look it up. Sahara cactus. They're beautiful, magnificent. I love oaks and I love the Sahara cactus. They're the two ancient things on earth that I really, really enjoy. Out of the floral area. Anyway, so he shot one, right? He took a gun out into the desert and he shot one. And then what happened was, after he shot it, one of the arms from the very top came down. He shot it and it made one of the arms from the top of it, very, very high up they are, very, very high up, cracked off, landed on him and killed him. Death by natural causes. Kind of spooky. So anyways, there were so many amazing things in there, like everything naturally that you could die from flora, fauna, diseases, mold, the St. Elmo's fire or St. Anthony's fire? Is it ergot? The thing that the mold that grows on the wheat or the rye, the mold that grows on the grain that then you accidentally ingest. They claim, allegedly, the Salem witch trials were a type of hallucinatory thing that was brought on about the, and then so you start psychotically dancing around, moving and hallucinating, right, if you ingest it. So it was very interesting. I thought it was fascinating exhibit. I liked that one more than I like King Tut's thing, even though the King Tut's one was like, they were both about death. We did a lot of exploration with death. So the King Tut's was like about death, and then also my son said something very funny. He said, wow, hide and seek champion for 3,000 years. Tut. so I thought that was funny. Anyway, so we had a lot of fun, a lot of good laughs. But then we went to the natural death one, and it was safe for children to interact with, and there was a lot of interactive displays. They had a lot of cadavers, and so near the cadavers they had a chart, like for like an embalming chart, you know, the mortuary chart, like and you had to guess how the person died. And so they had the information, and then whenever you guess, you look at the body, you look at the evidence on their body of how they could have died, and then you stick your hand in this thing, and then on the display it shows you the correct answer for how they died. But they were all natural deaths, all natural causes. And then they had displays of course, the periodic table of elements, the things that could kill you within the periodic table of elements. That honestly, I think everything could kill anybody. If too much of it could kill anybody, right? So anyways, everything is always combusting and breaking down life on planet Earth. So the Earth is carnivorous. So anyways, it was very interesting. They had things, radiation, so they had like a Geiger counter, and they were like, there was radioactive pottery, and then there was also, like, allegedly, I think it was just showing you, I don't know if it was really radioactive pottery, think that they would allow that. I don't know. But they were showing you what a Geiger counter was, and like you get to play with it, and the closer you brought the Geiger counter or whatever to the pottery, the more, you know. And then they had uranium glass, and they spoke about in the Victorian era there was a beautiful kind of dye that was made out of copper and arsenic, and you were able to smell arsenic and things of that nature. Like they had a whole interactive display for death, and the whole thing was about death. Okay, so let's just get over that. But so you could smell arsenic, you had to crunch this button, and I don't, they were like, this is the scent of arsenic, and so you take a big whiff. Arsenic, I love the way arsenic smells in the morning. It's so delicious. No, I'm not done yet. Oh, I have a line behind me waiting. No, un momento. Arsenic. Fresh arsenic in the morning. Anyway, so it's fun. And then there was also interactive things, like you got to choose, like, what are you more likely to die from, your furniture or a lightning strike? And then it was like, well, 1 out of 5,000 people die from a furniture malfunction, and then 1 out of like 2 million something people die of lightning strikes. So, or something of that nature. I'm fucking up. It's a telephone game here. I'm fucking up the statistics, but it was something on that sign. So you're more likely to die of a household thing. So anyways, back to the dress, the arsenic and this cyanide. This arsenic and copper. No, arsenic and, was it copper? Green is copper. So it was something of that nature. But what happened was the dye, it was a beautiful green color that was used in the Victorian era as wallpaper and as dye for clothes. And what happens is anytime you got sweaty or damp, it would come off the clothes into your body, and it was killing people. Slowly the clothes were killing people. A lot of things in the Victorian era was killing people. I don't know where the ignorance came from. I don't know if it was the Industrial Revolution. I don't know what happened that caused the ignorance to soar sky high. But it's very, very peculiar. The lead, the mercury, the arsenic, the clothes, everything, the wallpaper. It's like death was happening. And it's like death actually, let's just put it this way. Death had grown into a new, like, the way people were dying in the Victorian era was like death had a new mask he was wearing, and it was wearing, and it was playing with these things, these curious things. And eventually, with the curiosity of human nature and the scientists and the people who are a little more Uranian in nature, a little more eccentric, a little more questionable, they start looking around going, the fuck is this shit? So, that's how we figured out with lead, lead and stuff like that, the curiosity of scientists, or scientists like people with that kind of thinking, scientifical thinking and whatnot. So, yeah, and then we went into there's a botanical area of the death exhibit, and it was speaking on, they had interactive displays of mushrooms. You had to choose between each, there was like 6 sets of 2 mushrooms, and you had to pick, and then whatever mushroom you picked, you had to pull a lever to see if you were going to live or die. And it was funny listening to the other stories from people being like, oh, I survived into the last 2, I got killed by this mushroom, or la la la. It was like a playful interaction with death, and the children were enjoying it as well. It was very family friendly, unless your kids are scared of death, then perhaps not. But my kids we understand death very clearly, and I think it's healthy for people to have a good understanding of death. So in our family, it's just a friend. It's a family friend. It's not scary as much as, it's something that happens naturally. Literally, naturally. We all go there. We all take that journey. Oh, see you on the other side, so... but the botanical area was interesting because they talked about hydrangeas and different things that had poisons in it all around our house and home. And of course, I knew these things from my mother. My mother taught me different poisons and whatnot because she found it to be fascinating. Different plants outside. She was hyper aware of the things that could kill and the things that could not kill. And she also had a fear and fascination around mushrooms that could kill you. And that's one of the main stories as a child. She always told me, do not pick mushrooms in the front yard, they could kill you. And yes, they can. But she always told me the story of this grandmother who made spaghetti mushroom, and she picked mushrooms from the front yard and fed it to the entire family, and the entire family died except her grandchildren, her son-in-law, her daughter-in-law, whatever, or her daughter and her son-in-law, blah, blah, whatever. They all died except the grandmother. She had killed the entire family from feeding them poisonous spaghetti, and she said, oh, I didn't eat it because I wasn't hungry. And so my mom always told me the stories, and so when my mom told me a story about something like that, it always had a purpose, which was death, the ultimate like mistake or whatever, the ultimate consequences. You could die, So that's always scary. But also, yeah, whatever. So the botanical, I think that's what it was that made me so happy about the death exhibit, is that we could see the consequences of others' actions and learn from them rapidly through displays of interactivity and fun, free play, right? There was no harm in looking at death in the eyes there and noticing through time and space what it looked like. And there was also a taxidermy of like wild animals there, such as and living animals. They had scorpions, spiders, cane toads, and the one thing they said, do not tap on the glass, do not be a fucking dick, don't be an asshole. They had rattlesnakes, multiple kinds of rattlesnakes. They had the diamondback, and then they also had another type of rattlesnake. Which is something that, like, here in Texas, people round them up. There's a rattlesnake roundup. It's no big deal. We're hyper aware of rattlesnakes. People eat them all the time, so it's no big deal. Like, snakes are whatever here. We're just kind of like, okay, yeah, it's a thing that we, I don't know. But also, when you live close to Louisiana, you could eat anything. You could eat gators. The biggest predator in the area, you could hunt it down and eat it. As long as you have Tony Saturated, right? And some flour and some oil. Okay, so it was fun interacting with the exhibit, but we got to this place where in the center of it was Socrates, and his bust, it was like, solemn and kind of looking down, and then the whole explanation of his death and his life and his trial, and his kind of execution, I guess, his public execution. So he was taken out because he had foreign ideas and thoughts that were not socially acceptable, and so he went up against what the government was telling people, and he got apprehended, and they tagged and bagged him as introducing foreign gods to the youth, and then they found him guilty of that. And they asked him, basically, I'm chopping the story up, if you want to learn more about Socrates, you could do it on your own, but I'm just telephone game what I saw. And so they were like, well, how do you want to die? And he was like, give me a fucking teacup of hemlock, it's fine. Hemlock is highly deadly. And so he was like, he drank the whole thing, and of course Plato romanticized his death and said that he drank the whole thing in the face of adversary and just died silently, solemnly, quiet, like accepted his fate, accepted the cup, was in charge of his destiny. So it has some kind of the way Plato characterized Socrates' death, it had some kind of romanticization about accepting your destiny, introducing these foreign gods, these thoughts and ideas into the public, and accepting the consequences of his actions with respect and dignity and things of that nature. But unfortunately, it is a romanticization of Socrates' death, because hemlock does not do that to the body. Does you just drink it and you're like, Romeo, no. It is convulsing, shaking, vomiting, shitting yourself. It's very yucky. Okay, so the death was probably more like, but he took it, in the words of South Texas and Houston slang, motherfucker took it to the dome, and he said, fuck this shit, fuck you, I don't give a fuck, bitch, I'll do it again, kind of thing. South Texas slang. That's exactly what Socrates did. And is it honorable? Absolutely. And I think that the dance of Socrates is something that we all have to come to terms with. It's something that I come to terms with all the time. The fear of speaking and the fear of speaking the truth, or a truth, or my truth, personally just my truth, and then the consequences of the overarching systems in place coming down on you like a hammer, a sword, something coming down on you for speaking up, speaking out. The shame. You're supposed to be shameful about your truth. No. Speak your truth, accept the consequences, fuck it. Because the world will be better for it. Maybe they'll remember your name. Does it matter if they do? No. It doesn't. All that matters is that you honored yourself. That's it. It should not be for recognition or acceptance of the mass. Who gives a fuck about what the mass thinks? They're generally wrong. As a general guideline, they're kind of silly and goofy and sluggish, okay? There's a lot of lead in the water, especially public drinking water, so they systematically do this to us, so we become unaware and slow and not curious. So But we all have a dance of Socrates that we have to do. You have to accept your destiny and the consequences of your actions of speaking up, speaking out against the status quo, the social norms, and asking questions. And inspiring others to ask questions as well, you know? So I found a lot of inspiration in the story of Socrates and his death and Hemlock. I think Hemlock's fantastic and beautiful and amazing as a plant itself, but also as a form of execution. I think that's very interesting. To accept death in that way, you know, and I think it's sweet that Plato romanticized it. I think that that's cool, whatever. Like I said, we all have our own personal bias and perspectives, and so it just adds to the symphony of the story. It should not be like, oh, shut the fuck up, trombone, bitch. It should not be like that. It should be the trombone. Every instrument has its place in the symphony, okay, of the story of human life. It does. You're all important. I'm important to an extent. We're all important. And so if we all speak our truth from a place of love and innocence and just wanting to get it out, you use your vocal cords, you're singing, you're adding to the symphony of truth. And then you can, the world becomes a better place because you are adding to that truth, okay? The moment you feel shameful and you take your fucking harp and smash it and say, I'll never touch it again, fuck that, fuck this, I'll just be quiet in the corner, you just set yourself back, because there'll come a time where you want to find another harp and you want to play. It is a compulsion that happens within humans. I don't know why. It's our nature to make noise, to be loud and noisy, to cry. The first thing you come out, you cry, you use your vocal cords. It's fucking cold, you know. So speak up, speak out, tell the truth, your truth, whatever it is. So we're going through Socrates. I was like, wow, it's amazing, it's fantastic. At the end of the exhibit, I was like, did you see the thing about Socrates and Hemlock? And my husband was like, no, I didn't see it. What are you talking about? And I was like, it was in the middle of the botanical garden of death. You did not see Socrates? You're telling me? So the good thing is that I had absorbed the entire story of Socrates, and so I just regurgitated it to my husband, as I am to you. But with him, I was more, you know, because I feel crunched for time on here. So, and it's already getting to that time. I need to shut up. So we went through, and at the end of that, it was around 4 o'clock. So we got there around 11. At the end of the natural death thing, it was around 4. And I kind of was sitting, I was at the point where I was sitting on benches like an elderly woman and slightly falling asleep. Like I would close my eyes, and to the point where I'd start seeing stars again. And then my body would do that tingly rest thing. I could start feeling the juices in my brain going from the internal to the external. I can start feeling my brain juices do the thing where it happens when you sleep. It shifts. And so I was like, wow, I'm really tired. But we went through the indigenous era. There's like the indigenous cultures of America and America adjacent, you know, like Canada and Alaska and things of that nature. And that was very interesting. I loved seeing the Mayans and Aztecs because that's part of my people too. So I'm like, hey, yeah. And I always get excited because, like with the Egyptian depictions of people, they had like very big ears like I had. And the way their ears were, it looked like my ears. And so there was kind of like, I don't know, I like when I see art and it helps me elevate something I'm shameful of or insecure about. When I'm insecure about something personally, and then I go and see art on display in a museum and it reflects back to me an insecurity, but it's like lifted high and to the point where people adore it and they're like, wow, this is beautiful, this is fantastic, blah, blah. Then I'm like, wow, then I have the capacity to be beautiful and fantastic as well. I don't have to be so shameful about my appearance or some things of that nature, right? So yeah, whatever. So then we went through the indigenous Americas, and then I rested some more, and we were observing a giant pendulum that was going around throughout the entire day, knocking over things. And then we went through this whole Texas wildlife taxidermy thing. Very, very cool. I loved it a lot. I liked seeing everything. And then, of course, I saw the ibis, and I was like, there it is! The ibis was in the marsh area. That it was so cool to see all of the fauna, all of the animals within certain parts of Texas. There was a type of bison or buffalo, and then the coyotes and everything. And then we went to the other things, which are like the lions and other places of the earth. It was like Texas, and then you travel through other areas of the earth, like the Africa and things of that nature. And the displays, the taxidermy to me is just so fascinating and fantastical. I love taxidermy. It's beautiful, and I have such a high amount of respect, and I value it so much. Even to the point where, like, the preservation of human bodies is important. So mummification naturally was like very interesting to me because I wanted to be a mortician. And so all death inspires me. All death, all aspects and avenues of death, even decomposition, even ugly nitty gritty stuff, inspires me because it's more evidence that life is non-permanent, and this is just some kind of electrical mute suit for a moment's time, and eventually it will decompose and the electricity will leave, right? Correct? Maybe not, I don't know. So it is important to use your vocal cords to speak out, speak up, and tell your truth with the time you have left right here now. It is important for you to be here. It's important for all of us to be here. And museums help us understand that. They help us understand the past and things that are and things that are not. So I find them fascinating. And I was talking shit like earlier about the donators for the museum, but here's why. So we went to the 4th floor of the museum, and the 4th floor is all dedicated by Phillips 66 and the Shell Corporation, and it speaks 100% on renewable, reusable energy, which is, I'm going to say something and you might not like it, and I don't care. The 4th floor of the museum was entirely, and of its truth, propaganda for the oil industry. 100%. I'm not fucking shitting you. Go to the 4th floor and view it through that perspective. It is brought to you, generously donated. The entire 4th floor of the Houston Museum of Natural Science is donated to you by Phillips 66 and the Shell Corporation, okay? And other oil industry tycoons, right? Other entities within that realm of oil, like the oil energy, right? And the importance of what they're doing, their mission statement, and it's interactive, and it is fun, and it is like lots of smoke and mirrors and excitement, and there is transparency for what they do. They show you the drill bits they use, they show you the underwater drilling, they show you how they drill from ships, how far it goes down, and how these ships out in the ocean are actually drilling to the bottom of the ocean floor with certain types of tips on the thing and turning and going and sucking up, oil from salt domes and things of that nature, and how salt domes are technically a trap. They're real bad for the environment. So we, the oil company, are doing very good by taking the silly oil out and injecting water. And don't worry, it won't collapse unless we do it 5 times. And there's no reason for us to do it 5 times. So here in South Texas, we have one of the largest oil reserves on the planet, the oil. And so if you know anything about energy, if you know anything about the dynamic of power within the oil industry, then you'll understand why I say it's propaganda, because it is a singular narrative that they are good for the planet. They are doing very, very good things for all of us. You're fucking lucky that we are digging for oil, because if not, you would not have the things you do today. If you like your car, if you like technology, we are the future, and continuously consume and use oil because you need us to live a sustainable, comfortable life. Or else. Okay. Do I know anything? No. What I personally, artistically took away from the 4th floor of the Houston Museum of Natural Science is that the Shell Corporation and Phillips 66 donated a generous amount of money to have a display on their interests. And because they donated a generous amount of money to the entire 4th floor, displays, interactive things, submersive technology to where you sit and you go into this virtual thing and you see the narrative that they're telling you about, to pull in interest, to pull in workers, to make people want to do these things. What I pulled away artistically from my perspective of just nobody, just some dumb bitch, right, is that it's propaganda for a type of energy industry. Duh, no shit, right? Like, duh. But is it bad? Is it good? I don't know. That's up to the individual viewer to figure out what it is, but it is absolutely propaganda for the oil industry to continue flourishing in the ways it does. And were my children excited and like felt deliciously like ecstatic about all of this silly displays and things and learning about yes, because there was so much excitement and beautiful colors and strategic use of colors. If you understand the subconscious mind and how we feel about colors, there was like a deep pull to understand how to operate these things, and that we could dream of a better future together with the oil industry, you know. And as somebody who personally lives around a mass amount of chemical plants and things of that nature, somebody who has intimate understanding to an extent of the goings ons, to an extent, you know, by just being there. Of course, we have here in South Texas, we have sympathizers and empathizers, people who, you know, they're like, yeah, we're all for them because they provide money for us, and because we serve them, we don't question what they do. And that's fine. I don't give a fuck what you do. Personally, me, I've always been kind of an outcast. I've always been kind of fucked off in the corner, you know, just sitting back and looking and observing at everything and myself and where I fit and in the relation to other things, and the relation from the chemical plants to the community and the community back, and the power dynamics of things. And so in mixed company, I have to, because in mixed company, I have to shut my fucking mouth, because there are people who empathize and sympathize with the chemical plants and the refineries, and because that is their source of income, so they have a comfortable life because thank you. Yeah, which is fine. I'm not judging you. What I'm saying is that the bees will protect the hive. No, maybe. Eh. From the propaganda on the fourth floor, we went down to the gem and mineral collection, and they have a private vault of beautiful, the most magnificent, beautiful things. So then again, my husband was with my sons, and I was able to mosey about because they were excited, so they kind of packed up together as guys, and they were doing their dude stuff, right? And so I was just waltzing through the displays, and I am really into gems and minerals, so I was so. It's dark, it's like pitch black, and everything. The only light that comes from are from the displays that the gems and minerals and crystals are in, and. Then they're playing beautiful violins on the music's classical. It's very sweet. There's a cello, there's a violin, very sweet music. You're being serenaded while you're looking at these beautiful creations from the earth's womb. And I was able then again to identify each one without looking at the plaque. I could be like, that's tourmaline, that's beryl, that's aquamarine, that's quartz, that's smoky quartz, that's a type of hematite, that is this and that, you know. And so then I would look at the plaque. It was like a game I was playing. And even though it wasn't interactive necessarily, for me it was interactive because I like being sharp with my information. I like being sharp. I like being sharp. I do. Okay, I like taking my flint blade and making sure it's nice and sharp and humane for cutting. So I enjoy it. I enjoy the mental stimulation I was receiving, and also testing my abilities. What do I remember? Am I really that good? Can I identify these things by just looking? And so I was able to do like 85% of the things, and then there were some things that were new. So then I was learning and absorbing more information. And right now in my life, the two things that have been really, really interesting: astronomy, sulfur, and salt domes. I don't know why, but in my life, that's the three things that have been brought to the forefront of my intelligence, as well as my cognitive, I don't know, just looking for some reason that keeps showing up right in front of my face. Sulfur, salt domes, astronomy. So yeah, I don't know. So anyways, I was in this gem and mineral vault, and I was looking at everything, and it was so beautiful. I didn't get to look at everything I wanted to because it was towards the end of the day, and because it's a permanent exhibit, we could come back with the membership, so I was not too flutter-duttered about it, too upset or whatever. But I was, as quickly as I could, with the most respect, like gliding through like on ice, looking at everything, and there was not many people in there, so there was like 4 people in the entire gym and mineral vault, and so it was very silent. And there's another woman there who's excited, and she was like shaking her husband. She was like, look how big this space is. And like, I was like, fuck yeah, that's what it's all about, bitch. Hell yeah, that's what it's all about. Look at these magnificent things that come out of the earth's womb via radiation within the tension of below the surface. Like, wow, you know what I'm saying? But then part of me is very dark. Part of my awareness is very snarky and dark and aware and rude and crude, and like the irony that some of these things were found because of corporate greed, digging, and then they hit these other things. They go, oh well, we can use that for interest somewhere else, but they were usually digging for corporate profit somewhere. And so technically, sometimes these things that I don't know how to say, it's not sadistic. There's a part of myself that is very cruel and judgmental and aware of the darker things of human nature. Not cruel and judgmental, but there is a cold part. Let's say this. There is a cold part of my nature, a very Plutonian part of my nature, that sits in the silence and judges and understands the darkest depths of the heart, the darkest part of the human psyche, with extreme experience. So then I sit there. There's part of me that sits on a throne in the deep dark depths of myself that goes, the irony that some of this stuff was not just found like, oh, I found something randomly, but because of the corporate greed and needing to gather minerals and to mine resources for other external nefarious whatever, it hurt a little bit. That kind of awareness was still there, that these things could have come about by kind of like the rape of the land. Do you understand? Could have, possibly, there's a possibility that this could have been a thing. And so there was a tiny percentage of myself that was like, don't forget to be aware that the reason why people had mines in certain places was to steal from the land and to take for their personal profit. And sometimes they came about these things through nefarious reasons, blood money, stuff like that. Don't forget that. Don't forget blood money. And so I was like, fuck, like, I was like, damn. And so then, irony with the whole blood money thing, I was like, man, shit, there is that part of human nature. I forgot about that for a moment because I was incapacitated by the beauty of the crystals. So then my husband, he grabs my hand and he goes, come here. And I go, oh, and so he's guiding me through the darkness. And we go into this light and he was like, there's a fucking vault, an actual vault here with jewelry. There's a cop. Like, this is a fucking vault. And so he was like, go in there. And like playfully, not rude. But he grabbed my hand and he was like, I gotta show you something. And I was like, what? And so we like playfully, he showed me to the vault and he was like, look at all of this stuff. And to me, I was like, I didn't think it was cool. He is more into the diamonds that are cut and like the beauty of precision cutting. I am more into the beauty of nature, the growth on a matrix from the internal externally within the deep velvet womb of the earth. I think that's fascinating. And the intermixing of, like, sometimes they'll have smoky quartz with selenite on a certain type of matrix with all these different things that grow together and create a huge piece worth, of course, thousands of dollars or whatever. But really, it's priceless because it's unique, And there's no value you could put on that, really. It's just the most value, I feel, is the experience of looking at it and going, wow. So anyways, so he pulls me to the vault. He takes me to the vault and he goes, look at all these like rare rings and things. But then he was like, isn't this cool? And I was like, yeah, I guess it's okay. But actually, I enjoyed the other stuff, so I'll probably go back to that. But like, what do you want to show me? And he was like, come here. And he showed me there's a star sapphire or a star... I think it's called a star sapphire, which is rare, and I've only seen them in books. So I only knew about this thing from books that I have, which I've done research on, and I was like, holy shit. And so I was excited that he was like, ushered me to the vault where the cops were guarding it, this secret vault of gems, more valuable gems or whatever, because the other ones that I thought were valuable were unguarded. In the darkness, nobody gave a fuck. They're like, oh, no, this one's from China, that one's from Afghanistan, whatever. these are cut diamonds from these are fucking crown jewels kind of thing. So then they had cops there, whatever. And there were some snarky fucking guys that looked like they came out of a cubicle, and they were laughing at everything and giggling and being extraordinarily loud and rude. There was these three men on the phone talking very loudly, like they seemed to be out of place in such a space. And they were laughing and giggling at stuff and being extraordinarily rude. But they were at least in their 20s, possibly 30s. But they were acting like jackals. And I was like, dude, you know, sometimes I get a little hyena-esque. I do. I'm loud. I'm goofy or whatnot. But it's to the point I was like, what the fuck are y'all doing here? What are you doing here? Why are you so loud? Shut the fuck up. I'm just like being rude. When people are rude, I get to the thing in me awakens. And so I'm like, hi, fuck off. But I have to hurry this up. I'll have to edit this, and I hate this. Oh, I'm gonna hate editing this. So the star sapphire is a beautiful pink star sapphire. And what happens, there's a six-pointed star within the star sapphire, and when the light hits it, you see it radiating from the center point out, and it is magnificent. And then he showed me a ring that I think it was created. So one of them was not created, the other one was created, like within a lab. You can create things in a lab now, so there's false jewels out there, but I like the ones made in a womb of the earth. I think those are more delicious and beautiful because they're naturally forming from the inside with radiation. There's an intelligence and crystals growing. So nothing, laboratory crystals will never fucking beat pure diamonds or real gold or actual quartz or azurite and malachite. Nothing will ever beat the internal mixture from the earth's womb to me. And turquoise, all these beautiful things, copper and things like that. So they're delicious to me. The intelligence that crystals have, which they do, because they grow. So are they intelligent like they know math? They know what 2 + 2 is? No, but there is a type of intelligence where they do grow. They are growing. And if you want to argue with me on that, that's fine. I don't give a fuck what you think. This is what I think. So whatever. Who cares what I think, really? Who gives a fuck? So, so anyways, I was like, okay, first of all, fuck these guys. Okay, get the fuck out of my face. And then I was like, these are beautiful. And so there was also a lab-created sapphire, a blue sapphire with the diamond in it, and it was a ring. And he was like, my husband was like, you deserve that. And I was like, what? Shut up, bitch. Like, oh my God, don't say that. I was all like, oh my God, you're so sweet. But no, I don't like that. That's very nice of you, very romantic and things of that nature. That's sweet that you think of me that way. But I was like, honestly, I would be good with one of those displays. So if you're going to steal anything from me, I'm kidding. Steal anything, perhaps that piece of tourmaline out there that I'm very interested in. Or like there was a piece of azurite and malachite, and wow, azurite is beautiful. It is, God dang, it's pretty. So anyways, I found that to be interesting. And yeah, beryl, there's a huge piece of beryl that was, wow. I mean, first of all, I've only seen tiny pieces of beryl in person. So to see a big piece of beryl, oh, it's rare. Beryllium, beryl, aquamarine, there's a rarity to having it so large and intact. It was stunning, captivating. I was in awe. So that's why I have some respect for crystals, because whenever I find a very immaculate piece, and I also know that the market value for things such as lapis lazuli, if there's more calcite, the white part of the lapis, then the value diminishes. But if there's more pyrite and the blues, I think that's azurite. Perhaps it's this. The blue in lapis lazuli is this, the lapis or whatever, the blue part. So that's what it's called. But there is a higher, so the market value shifts on the slab piece that has been taken from the earth, and then by pound or ounce, and then also the amount of calcite versus pyrite and things of that nature sways the value. And of course, individual sellers will have individual prices, and so it's an individual thing, and you have to get very good and intimate with market negotiations and communication on value, and you have to understand what value is and how it is individual for each person and what yours is and where you stand and how far you're willing to go to obtain a piece of said crystal, rock, whatever. So yeah, that's interesting too. That's a whole process that's beautiful. The interaction of humans with bartering and money exchange. I think it's fascinating and strange and interesting to watch a exchange happen. To watch people come to a middle ground, or perhaps not, or someone walk away. I think that's it's a dance, is it not? It's kind of cool. So anyways, after the whole gym and mineral thing, I think we moseyed about some other places. I'll insert some footage at the end of this. Sorry, this is a long motherfucking one. But I have to get ready to go. I have a thing I have to go to, and then I'll tell you about it tomorrow. But that was my Houston Museum of Natural Science-ish kind of thing that happened. And some of the things I took away from it. And of course there was a lot more, but I can't really get into everything right now. Some of the things I found extraordinarily interesting. And even, like I said, the things that I found to be problematic to an extent or interesting to think about, to be aware of. There's still value within understanding the oil industry and understanding how rigs work and the extraction of oil through salt domes within Texas and the plains and things of that nature on the coastline, and its effect on and the eventual consequence of it eventually one day, maybe many years in the future. But and who holds the power? Who holds the energetic power of the future, the perceived future, whatever that may be? Do I know? No. But who does? Okay, I'm gonna go. I gotta really fix up my makeup and then I gotta get the fuck out of here. So I will see you guys later. Sorry. Okay, goodbye. I wasn't thinking, but I could totally